So the first thing we're going to put on this number line is 0. Then it basically becomes your ability to read, and we're talking about meters, so I'll put 0 meters. And then obviously we want to call that sea level, because we know that anytime we're dealing with 0, when talking about elevation, we're talking about 0 feet. It's right where sea level is. Okay? So now, Reagan is riding a flying unicorn at 180 meters above sea level. So if sea level's here, we know that Reagan is up here at 180 meters above it, right? Everybody agree? Okay. Now let's read the next sentence. I'll change colors here so we can read it very carefully. Deja is walking on a rainbow at 22 meters above Reagan. So the mistake that people make is they see 22, they see above, and what do? They put it right there at 22 like that. Is that correct? No, because it doesn't say she was walking on the rainbow at 22 feet or meters above sea level. It says it's 22 feet above where Reagan is. So you've got to go 22 feet higher into the sky, which would be 202 meters for Deja. Got that? Cool. Okay. Now, Leighton is trying to get bit by a shark at 80 feet below sea level. Now, it said below sea level, so we know that's going to be at negative 80 on the number line, which was where Leighton would be. Dwayne Wade is snorkeling at 20 feet above Leighton. So I had people doing one of two things. This is wrong. I had some people putting negative 20 on there. That would be if if Dwayne Wade was 28 or was 20 feet below sea level, right? Everybody see that? It's not what it says. It says 20 feet above where Leighton is. So what's 20 feet above where Leighton is? Negative 60 on the number line, which is where Dwayne Wade would be. Does everybody understand that? Okay, let's move on then. Let's move on. We will come back to one. How about that? Got about 1 million of them. Let's do this one now. I would like you guys, and I said this in the video from the formative. Whenever you're given temperature or anything like that, what's the first thing you should do on your scrap sheet of paper if it's an online test, which it is? What should be the first thing you should do, Colton? Nope. You could, but that's kind of what we're going to do. But I want us to be more specific. Brandon, I want you to put all those temperatures on a number line. Now remember, if you're putting day 1 at negative 12, which is down here somewhere, make sure you actually label day 1. I would like you guys to do your vertical number line, and then I want you to answer this question right here, and then I want you to answer number 2. Go ahead. All right, so first of all, I want to make sure I note the mistake that some of you are making, and it's happened all day, so don't be embarrassed. It's just a matter of, you're used to always counting 12, 13, 14, like I get it. Like, so remember, it would be negative 1 would be here, and that would be day 2. Negative 12 would be somewhere down here, and that would be day 1. And then negative 13 would be down here for day 4. And then, of course, we did have one positive temperature day, and that was day 3 at 4 degrees. So obviously the coldest day is right there. Negative 13 is much colder than the other days. They're all cold, but that's the coldest. Now, when you're trying to find the change in temperature from day 1 to 3, we can see that we're trying to figure out the change from when it was there to there. Well, when you go across 0, you have to add their absolute values. So we know it would have to go up 12 degrees just to get to 0, and then it would have to go up 4 more to get there. So 12 plus 4 is 16 degrees change, or it went up, it increased. What if I would have said, what is the change in temperature from, let me change this, from day, oops, we'll leave that, from day 1 to day 4? Go ahead and answer that question for me, guys. From day 1 to day 4, right on your board. So this one here, did you get it? Okay, from day 1 to 4, we know that if this was the temperature, it was just 1 degree colder. Now, what I was seeing if anybody was going to do was I was going to see if anybody said negative 1. Can you have you would never put negative 1 when we're talking about how far it is or how much it's changing. It's just 1 degree. But remember, when you stay on the same side of 0, which we would in this case, we are going to subtract the absolute values of 13 and 12. Everybody got that? Okay, good. All right, let's move on. Okay, we are going to do this top one up here, if I can zoom out enough. I would like you guys to do number 1, please. What should you do right now before you actually start writing anything on your board? You should be placing those on a number line. We're just doing the first one now. Okay? You will have one just like this on the summative also. My advice is to just go ahead and do a number line. Now, I see some of you putting all the numbers between -6 and 5. You don't even have to do that. You literally could just put 5 on here and then put -6, and you could say, well, what's the distance that -6 is from 0? Oh, 6. What's the distance that 5 is from 0? Since we went across 0, don't we need to add the absolute values? Yes, we do. Okay, so you could have put all those numbers in between, like 1, 2, 3, 4, but you didn't have to. All right? Go ahead and do this one, guys. Okay. So I like the way some of you took my advice from the video yesterday. Colton, in specific, was doing this. He drew number lines for every one of these. Now, if you didn't feel like drawing a number line, you could have just looked over top of Colton's head back there, and there is a number line already on there, up there on the wall up there, so you could have used it. Remember, numbers to the right will always be, well, yeah, but if we have 2 numbers on there, the numbers to the right will always be bigger or greater or larger, right? So when we look at this right here, I know that if I'm looking back at that number line back there, I know that -9 would be here, -8 here. I know that -132 would be here, -131 would be to the right of it. I know that if 0 is here, -1/3 would be to the left of it. And I know that if -5 was here, then I know that would be -8. Now let's just go through, and I know that all this is bigger, this is bigger, this is bigger, and this is bigger. Let's figure out which ones are saying that that one is bigger. Is A saying that -8 is larger? No, that one's false. Is B saying -1, is it trying to eat the larger number? Yes, so that's true. Now we'll go to here. Is 0 bigger than every negative number? Absolutely, so we know that one's good. And then finally, is it trying to eat -5? So there we go. Everybody got that? Bless you. All right. All righty. Maybe.
So Garrison, you should have like a strip on each desk.
Yeah.
A little one.
Here we go. Here's one that was messing with you guys a little bit. Do this one.
Me? I already see the word for it.
Come on. So we have a lot going on here. Let's first of all underline the keywords. Horizontal, obviously important. Representing opposites of whole numbers 1 to 4. Now here's the mistake that many people make. They say, okay, if I remove that word right there, I would go 1, 2, 3, 4, right? But because it's referring to the opposites of those numbers, so I can just do -1, -2, -3, -4. That is wrong. Because we do not number the positives going the same direction as we do the negatives. So this would be marked wrong. You would have to put it as opposite that, because -4 would be furthest to the left. Everybody got that? The reason we are not allowed to put 0 on here is because it's not from 1 to 4. Right? Sorry. All right. All right, we'll do another one of those in a minute, but I want to go back to a word problem.
Yeah.
Here you go. Go ahead and draw that situation on your board, please. Everybody watch here. So, it's all about reading. First of all, we're going to put 0. That's sea level, right? Now, Jenny Craig is riding the unicorn 40 feet above sea level. So we have up here at 40 feet above the sea level, we have Jenny Craig. Okay? Malia is correcting him, I guess Jenny Craig's a him, at 20 feet above Jenny Craig. So if we're 20 feet above this spot, that would put Malia at 60 feet above sea level, right, guys? Because 20 feet above 40 is 60. Now, Precious is giggling with a shark 30 feet below sea level, so we know down here at negative 30, we know that there's Precious. And then Callie is erasing her board 10 feet below where she is. So if you go 10 feet lower into the water, that would be negative 40 on the number line, and that's where Callie would go. Have we got that? Okay, erase your boards.
I thought you were trying to trick me.
Or actually, don't erase them. Sorry. Sorry. Hey, I want you guys to answer this question. You can write on your board somewhere. You can erase it. You can erase it actually, because you can use my number line. I want you guys to answer the question. What is the vertical distance between Malia and Precious? What is the vertical distance between Malia and Precious? Write it on your board. You don't have to write the question. You don't have to write the question. What is the vertical distance between Malia and Precious? Good. What is the vertical distance between Malia and Precious? Good. Boom. Nice job. Good. All right. Good. Looks like everybody got that. Nine.
It looks kind of forced.
Okay. Anna, did you get it? Okay. Malia and Precious. Precious is here. Malia's up here. So since we go across, we need to add. Who can just quickly tell me what is the vertical distance between Callie and Precious? It is 10 feet, right? Now, it said it right here, so you already do that. But if not, you would subtract the absolute values. Here's what I want you guys to do. You're going to use these like letters. You're going to use these letters. I would like you to put them from closest to farthest away, or furthest. I don't know what the rule is. Closest to furthest. So you'd be like MJCKP or something like that. From closest to sea level to the farthest from sea level. Listen, you don't have to write out their names though. Let's do a quick recap before we do this one. Let's remind ourselves, what do these lines right here mean? Absolute value. Isn't that asking a question? So before you start, shouldn't you answer the question here first?
Yes.
So it's asking, what is the absolute value of 22? And you guys would say?
22.
22. What is the absolute value of negative 23? 23. I would like you to put the correct inequality symbol. What would it be? It looks like an L, right? Less than. Less than. Let's do another one of those. Okay? So the first thing you always need to write, actually writing it out. We're going to do this one, but I'm going to put absolute values on this. There you go. Go ahead and tell me if it's less than, greater than, or equal to. I think those are pretty easy. Just remember, on the summative, you may be given a question where you have to figure out which one of them is true. Remember that from the formative?
Yeah.
So 3 of them will be false. So what you're going to do is you would, like if this were the once, say it was like this, like this, like this, like this, like this, something like that. The first thing you're going to do is rewrite them like this. And say, okay, is that a true statement? No, that's false. 22 is not greater than 23. Then you'd go here. Okay, this is 298. This is 299. Yep, that one's true. Then you would check this one and so on. Everybody got that? Okay. All right, coordinates. Now, I'm going to do a quick little refresher just to make sure we all remember how to plot coordinates, because I really don't want people tomorrow going, like if I gave you the point 6, negative 5, something like that. I still have some people that are saying, yep, I go up 6, left to negative 5. Is that correct? So this is your refresher. 2 minutes. The first number of an ordered pair is called the x-coordinate. That's the one that tells you how far to go and whether to go right or go left. Got it? You always have to take care of the x-coordinate first. Now, really? Okay. I know you guys learned that the Superman runs before he flies and all these things, but remember, you can do more than just fly. If Superman takes off running here and then goes up, he can also go down, which doesn't really make sense for Superman. And the airplane thing on a runway, again, I hope the airplane isn't taking off and then going down. That's not good. Okay? That's not a great thing. So I will go back to the way I've explained it, and that is here we have the hospital, right? When I get this point right here, I know that I need to go 6 steps to right here. This right here is where I actually have to hop on the elevator. Once I'm on the elevator, now I'm ready to either go up or down. And since it's a negative, we're going to go down to the basement 5th floor, right? And that would be my point. Everybody got that? So you guys aren't going to be able to draw this on your board, so you're just going to have to, we're just going to kind of do it together.
Yeah.
But I want to just practice a little bit. I'm going to give you a point, and you tell me where it is. So if I gave you -5, -6, explain to me how you would get to that. Somebody, please walk me through the process of getting to -5, -6. Jaden?
Go to the left.
Starting at the origin, right?
Yeah.
Everybody hear that word right there?
Origin.
Do you need to know that for the test?
Yes.
Okay. And what you say, you start there and then do what first?
So left 5,
Left to -5.
and then go up -6.
It's impossible to go up -6. Down to -6, right there. That would be the coordinate, -5, -6. Everybody got that? Now, if I were reflecting, please listen to this, because I don't know if I didn't really go over this as carefully as what I normally did, because we used the gizmo thing, which was good too, but I don't think we got to really go over it in class as much. So, we are now. I want you guys to watch something. Whenever you reflect a point, so let's say, I'll make up a point here, we're right over here. Let's say that my point was 2, 3, okay? If I were reflecting 2, 3, what I want you guys to understand is the x-coordinate is either going to stay as a 2 or become a -2, right? The y-coordinate is either going to become a -3 or stay as a 3. Do you guys all understand that? Like the number itself is never going to change. So when you're looking at any point, like right here, that's 7, 5, right guys? If I'm reflecting that, it's either going to become -7, 5 or it's going to become 7, -5. Do you understand that? You're never all of a sudden going to say, yep, I reflected it down to there, and all of a sudden it is 7. Well, that was, I actually did that right, amazingly. Let's say you did that accidentally, and then you got 7, -3. Like the number itself can't all of a sudden just become a different number. It can become its opposite, but it can't become a new number. Does that make sense? So when I look at my original point down here, I'm going to reflect this over the y. Now you do need to know which one the x and y is. Now, if you get to the test tomorrow and you're like, shoot, I forget which one the x and the y is because it's an easy thing to confuse, I understand. Guess what you can do? You can look around on your test a little bit. And this is where you can use a test to help you pass a test, if that makes sense at all. So like I could find a number line. I could go here and say, oh, I don't remember which one, say you're on this one here. And the x and y isn't listed, right? Everybody agree? Guess what? Scoot up here. Oh, it's not there either. Well, that's real nice. Maybe I didn't do it. I must have taken them off this time. Okay, disregard what I just said. So I did actually take them off of the x and y. There you go. See it? X, Y. So you can look around the test sometimes to get clues on how to do it. So going back to here, if we're trying to reflect this over the y-axis, we know that this right here is the y-axis. So you should already be knowing, well, if I'm reflecting there, I know it's going to be over there somewhere. Do we all agree? Now, what you can really just think about is, when you think about a coordinate, isn't the coordinates in this quadrant going to be always positive, negative, because you're going right and down always? Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so if it's always going to be that, can't you just take the positive version of that and the negative version of that? Don't I know that that's the answer right there? Let's go ahead and reflect it anyway, just to make sure. So we know it's got to be the same distance. So how far is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Because it's 5 there. So if it's 5 from there to there, then that has to be 5 from there to there, right? We need to go 5 this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Is that this point? Am I all good?
Yeah.
Do you see how I did that without really thinking, without like counting? I didn't have to count. Like up here, I can look up here, and if I reflect this over the x-axis, right here, you guys all agree that my point's going to be up here somewhere, right? We all agree with that? Okay. So if we all agree with that, do we also agree that my coordinate is going to be a negative in the x-coordinate and a positive y-coordinate?
Yeah.
Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah.
So can I already look at this and say, well, then I know it's going to be -5, 6? Do you guys see how I did that?
Yeah.
I took -5 and -6, and I said I'm going to use the negative version of this number and the positive version of that number. Hey, Bryce. If you you reflect over the x, then you will leave your x coordinate the same. Did everybody hear that? And you will do the opposite of your y. If you reflect over your y, what do you think will stay the same? The y coordinate will stay the same. As you can see, -6 stayed as -6. And we will use the opposite of our x. Does that make sense? Okay. You're gonna have to do this on the test, and this is the easiest one to do with whiteboards. I'm gonna give you a point. I'm gonna take that point right there, and I'm gonna reflect it. Okay? You are gonna tell me what I reflected over on your whiteboard. So you're either gonna write x or y. Okay? So I haven't done it yet, so I don't know why people are writing, but you shouldn't be writing anything yet because I haven't even done it. So I'm gonna reflect this. Go ahead. What did I just reflect that over? Good, Colton? Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. 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 Yep. Good. Well, I want to know what I reflected over top of, though. Which axis? Good. So I either reflected over the x or the y. Think about it. Remember on the video when I drew this guy like this, and his head, the top of his head was the point, and then I showed his reflection down here. Remember this, guys? And I went like that. This right here is what we reflected over. So that would be the what axis? The x-axis. Let me give you another one of those. So let me get rid of all this stuff here. Okay, now if I gave you this point right here, and I reflected it over to here, what did I just reflect it over, guys? Write it. Good? Good? What is being reflected? This is your y, this is your x. So what's it reflecting over? Good? Good, good, good. Press should know this. The letters. It's not an x. The x would be right here if you're reflecting up to here. Right? This would be reflecting over the y-axis. Again, if I drew my guy, there he is, and his reflection would be the mirror image of where he's at. There he is. Where he's standing, where his toes are, is what you're reflecting over. Okay? You guys got that? All right. Anything else? Anything else you guys want to do? Is there any type of problem? Like I can scroll through here. You tell me if there's one that you want to see. I mean, these are all number line problems greater than less than.
Wait, I have a question.
Yes.
So x, if it's an x, it's going up, right?
What do you mean if it's going up?
Like,
If it's, oh yeah, okay, I know what you're saying, I think. Let me take a stab at what you're trying to say. And then you can tell me if I'm right or wrong. So, she is saying, where's my number line at? On my grid. Okay, where is it? Does anybody see it, honestly?
oh, so there.
Sorry about that. Okay, so what Precious is saying, she said, if you're reflecting over the x, it's either going to be going up to down or down to up. Is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if you reflect over the x, the y is changed. You're doing the opposite y, right? If you're reflecting over the x or the y, it's always going to be reflecting over the y. So it's going to be moving right to left, which makes
Oh,
sense.
so it's going over. Okay, it's going over.
Yes, so it's whatever it's wherever it's going over top of, where it's being reflected, that is the axis that's being reflected. What do we want to see? We got about a few minutes here. Maybe got time for one more. Yep. Yeah. Anything? Okay. You can put your. We would want to put 0 on there first and foremost because we always want to put that for sea level. Now we start reading. Mr. Zenker is flying at 150 feet above the sea level. So since it says above sea level, we know that, yeah, that would be up there at 150 feet, and that's where old Zink Monster would be, okay? So now we have Kylie Heisenreiter. Anybody know her? That's who that was referring to. I did these last year. Kylie is floating 30 feet below Mr. Zenker. So the difference here is, and nobody did this, I don't think anyway, but when you guys, on the formative, a lot of you were putting 30, because you saw 30 feet, or I'm sorry, actually, you put 30 feet below here. I was having people do that. Because you're seeing the word below, so automatically you think, oh, well, it must be below 0, but you've got to read carefully. 30 feet below Mr. Zenker, so if it's 150 from there to there, 30 feet below him would be Kylie at 120 feet, 150 minus 30. Everybody see that? Now we're on to Dominique. Dominique is scuba diving at 50 feet below the sea level. So you go down here. We got to make sure we put negatives when we're putting them on the number line, and they're below 0. Okay, and that's Dominique. Listen. Shh. Now we're going to read about Macy. Now, Macy is where the problem came in for a lot of you. Now, some of you did a nice job, but I'd say there's several of you that were confused. Some of you were putting 90, and some of you were putting negative 90 down here. Some of you put negative 90 here. Some people were putting negative 90 here. And I think I know why. I think because you guys were thinking, well, Mr. Gerson, you said when you go across 0, you add them. Well, be careful. You've got to understand that the distance from Dominique to sea level is 50 feet, right?
Yeah.
Okay? So if Macy is 40 feet above him, she's still under the sea, right? She's still how many feet under the sea level?
People are doing like
Yes?
maybe people were getting confused because they thought it was 40 above sea level, but it's actually just distance.
Oh, so they just saw above?
Yeah.
That's true. So if you just saw above, maybe you just put 40 there. That could be a reason. You got to make sure you're real careful. This is really reading, maybe even more than math. It's very reading based. So we know that what's 40 feet above where 50 feet below sea level would be, yeah? That would be at negative 10 feet below sea level, or 10 feet below sea level, and that's where Macy would be. Does that make sense? Now, you will have to answer some questions about this. So who can tell me right now, what is the distance between Mr. Zenker and Dominique? What is the distance between Mr. Zenker and Dominique down there? Sammy? Be careful. Yeah. Second one. 200, right? Because you have to add the absolute values when you go across 0. What's the vertical distance between Macy and Kylie? How would you figure that out? Gert?
130 feet.
It'd be 130 feet, 120 plus 110. Now, these other ones are pretty easy because it was already given. It told you that they were 40 feet apart. But remember, if you stay on the same side of 0, you subtract their absolute value. So 50 minus 10 would tell me they're 40 feet apart. We already knew that based on what I have circled here, right there. We'll come back and do another one of those at the end. Sound good? All right. See this one right here. You have to tell me either less than or greater than. Go. Or equal to. Here we go. So the only thing most of you think absolute value is pretty easy, I think. Now, we just got to remember that whenever you see those bars, that is asking a question. So what work I'm looking for, I'm asking you to answer that question before you start comparing, doing less than or greater than. So what is the absolute value of 40, Samantha?
40.
40. And what is the absolute value of negative 39? Allison? 39. Remember, absolute value is the distance to 0, and distance can never be negative. Good. So then it's easy. We're trying to eat the 40, obviously. Good. Now, just know, guys, listen. On the summative, just like the formative, I'm probably going to give you a multiple choice question. Please hear me. Please hear me out. And it might be like this would be A, this would be B, this would be C, this would be D, and it might say this. It might say, this one. Let me make that a 6. It might say this, and then say this one said negative 2, and it said negative 3, and it said that. And then it said like this, and it might say, find the one that's not true. Find the one that's false. Well, it would be up to you on a scrap sheet of paper, since it's a computer-based test, to actually go through here and say, okay, the absolute value of that is 2. That would be 3. Is that a true statement, guys?
Yeah.
True. Okay, the absolute value of 25 is 25. The absolute value of negative 26, 26. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yep, I guess I should put a T. Okay, here we got 2. And
Wrong.
I did literally the same question. I didn't mean to do that. But obviously that would be false, right? And then finally we would find the absolute values there, and that would be true. So if you were finding the one that was false, you would do that right there. Do you see how I want you to actually work out every answer? I got a rule. When you're doing multiple choice, if it's 4 answers, if you you can find the 3 wrong ones, that'll be even a better way to find the 1 correct one. In this case, since we're trying to find the false one, find the 3 trues, and then you're kind of double checking yourself. You're not only finding the false, but then you're also realizing that the other 3 are gone because you found that they're all true. Okay? All right, let's keep moving here. All right. Did we do it on air class? So. I would like you guys to do number 1, please.
Oh no, number 1. I can't see.
Hang on. Okay, so here you can do a vertical. I'm doing you can do a vertical or a horizontal. I don't care. Just as long as you know that if it's vertical, you know that -10 would come before -12. If it was doing a horizontal, you would have to put -10. -12 would be on the left of it. Okay. But either way, since you stayed on the same side of 0, we're going to subtract the absolute value. So that would only be a 2-degree change. Would I accept -2? No, because it says how far. You can't be -2 apart. You're only 2. You're either 2 left or 2 right from it. All right.
Are you recording?
Yes.
Hi.
Quiet. There you go, guys. You have to do number 1 and 2 and do a number line. Go. Okay. All right. So tomorrow on the test, it will not say draw a number line. Okay. That is just my guidance. I'm guiding you to do a number line. You will have a scrap sheet of paper or whatever. I'm actually going to give you graph paper as your scrap sheet of paper. That way you can do chord planes, all that stuff, just to help you. I'm not going to grade whether or not you do a number line. I hope you do because I'm trying to give you that method it'll help. I mean, obviously, nobody can deny that it won't help you. But I can't make you do it in this situation unless I go through the work, and I'm not doing that. So, first of all, we're going to put those on there. We know that there's 0 degrees. Obviously, we need to add on there. And then day 1 was -11, which would be down here somewhere. That'd be day 1. We have -12 degrees would be below that at day 2. And then we had a fairly warm day on day 3, which was 8 days. I guess warm compared to the negatives. People are writing while I'm talking. Please stop. Thank you. Obviously, what was a cold day? That's going to day 2. Now, what is the change in temperature from day 1 to day 3? Well, we have to add the absolute values because we're going across 0. Michaela? It's going to be the absolute value of -11 is 11. The absolute value of 8 is 8. We add those together and we get a change in temperature of 19 degrees. All right. Here's one. I already did that one. I'm going to do a different one. Here we go. Do this one. Okay. So these questions right here can be challenging. First of all, you got to know that it's a horizontal. So we got to know it's like this. Now, it says representing the opposites of whole numbers from 3 to 9. Now, let's just assume for a minute that we took that number out, which a lot of you did when you were thinking about it. You said, okay, well, 3 to 9 would be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? And then you're like, oh, wait a minute. It's opposites of 3 to 9, so that would be -3, -4, -5, -6, -7, -8, and -9. What is the matter with this? This is wrong. Why is this incorrect? Why is that not okay, Avery? The greatest number, which is -3 on there, would have to be to the right. Remember, we count going left the same way, so you just can't change them to negative. You would actually have to come over and say, oh, okay, this would be the furthest to the left would be -9, -8, -7, -6, -5, -4, and -3. Now, the only other thing that I saw some of you doing, some of you were putting 0 on there. Now, I know why you did, because you've heard me say 0 should be the first thing go on there. That's only when you're doing real-life problems or temperature problems or elevation problems, questions like that. When we're talking about we want to only have the numbers that are opposites of whole numbers from 3 to 9, then we only want from -3 to -9. Everybody got that? So 0 would not be allowed on there. You understand that? Sure. Okay. Just make sure we all understand it. We'll do another one of those here shortly.
Is it
Yes. Okay. By the way, on the summative, show you this real fast. On the summative, guys, notice you'll have this very similar question to this. I changed it to greatest to least. So when you're dragging these things and dropping them, it'll actually make sense like a vertical number line. Does that help?
Yeah.
It was a little confusing on the formative. I know. I'm sorry. So yeah, you would take that and drag it up. That's the biggest. You would drag this one down, and so on. But we're not going to do that one. It's done on the video earlier.
Greatest to leastest. Leastest to greatest.
Okay.
Kylie.
Okay. What I want you guys to do is I just want you guys to read what's in black up there. Go ahead. Yes, I know. I'm getting rid of this for a minute. You guys.
He's just using white.
Okay, come on. Here we go. All right. So those are negative. Okay. First of all, we've got to put. I hear talking. Stop, please. Why do I hear so much talking? You need negatives on each one. So we put 0, and then it says Faith is riding a helicopter or flying one or something at 180 feet above the sea level. So that's where Faith is. And then we see Grace is 100 feet below where Faith is. So that would put Grace down here at 80 feet above the sea level. And then we see Kylie playing the hide and seek with a hammerhead at 200 feet below sea level. So that would be negative 200. We got to make sure we put the negative on there. And that's Kylie. Listen. And then Autumn is 50 feet above where Kylie is. And that's going to put Autumn at negative 150 feet, or we should just say 150 feet below the sea level. Put your lid on your marker. Autumn. Everybody see that? Okay. Now, we're going to answer these questions. I'm going to answer the first one first. Okay. What is the vertical distance between between Faith and Autumn? What is the vertical distance between Faith and Autumn? Who can tell me that answer real quick? Just sit. We're just going to raise our hand. Charlie, what's the vertical distance between Faith and Autumn? 330, yes, because we have Faith up here at 180 feet above sea level. We got her at 150 feet below sea level. Since we went across here, we must add their absolute value. So yeah, that would be 330. 150 plus 180. Now we'll do, what is the vertical distance between Kylie and Grace? Kylie and Grace, how would you figure that out? Or give me the answer. Allison? It would be 280, and you would figure that out by doing 200, the absolute value of Kylie, plus the absolute value of Grace, which is 80, 280. And finally, who is the closest to sea level? Who is the closest to sea level? Grunkle?
What's her name? Grace.
I know. Not important. I agree. It's an unimportant name. Okay, so Grace would be the closest to sea level, right? Now, you might also get a question that says, by how many feet? Remember that from the formative? So in other words, how much closer is Grace than the next closest person? How would you figure that out, Samantha?
You would do 150 minus 80.
Yeah, you would do the distance of the next closest person, which is Autumn, and then there you would subtract their differences. Now that's a little weird because you're used to adding when you go across zero. That's a little slightly different question. We're talking about what's the difference between the distance there and the distance there. Difference meaning subtraction. So it would be 70 feet would be the distance. Everybody got that?
I win.
You lose. Do you have another menu? Hello. Just stop putting remains in things.
There you go. Go ahead.
That's actually.
A couple people still made the mistake here of just thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then just saying I'm just going to make them negative. But that's not how you count negative numbers. It's opposite of what you've been taught. So you have to think, well, negative 1 would be here, negative 2 would be here, negative 3 would be here, negative 4 here. Now, would it be okay if I put 0 on here? No, because that's not an opposite of number from numbers 1 to 4. Okay, everybody got that?
Sí, señor.
Come on.
Is it recording?
You need to get a voice shot. Yeah.
Guys, listen up, please. I'm going to do one of these, and then you're going to do one. Okay? What does these little bars, or these little lines, as some of you call them, what does that mean? D? Absolute value. So if you were being asked to tell me whether which one is less than or which one is greater than, and you'll have a question like this on the summative tomorrow. So you know that it might not be just asking for less than or greater than. It might be select the one that's true, or select the one that's not true. Questions like that. So what is the first thing that you have to do before you can answer this question? And I would expect you to do this on a scrap sheet of paper tomorrow on your summative. The first thing you should do is what? Before you start putting less than or greater than symbols in there is, Logan? We are going to answer the question. Remember how we talked about if I gave you that right there? You guys all know that is asking a question. Do we all agree? It's asking what is the sum of 2 and 3, or what is 2 plus 3? You guys would automatically say 5 because you're interpreting all the numbers and the symbol that's in there as adding. Skylar with me? All right? So this is the same thing. When you see those bars, you know that you automatically have to go ahead and find the absolute value. Now, what is absolute value? Who can remind me? What is it, Josh?
How far away from 0 the number is?
It's how far the number is from 0, or the distance that a number is to 0. How far is -2 from 0, guys?
2.
Yep. Yep.
2.
It is 2. And what about the absolute value of -3? JBG? It is 3. But can absolute value ever be negative?
No.
Can distance ever be negative? Can I walk -10 feet?
No.
No. Okay? So now that we're here, which symbol am I going to be placing in here? Which symbol am I going to be placing in here? Maren? Less than symbol. So it's going to be trying to eat the number. Everybody got that?
Yeah.
Okay, I would like you guys to go ahead and do number 3. Everybody hear that? I'm going to go down because I know that some people will do number 2. Okay, go ahead. First thing you should be writing on your board, you should not be doing a less than or greater than. The first thing you should be doing is answering the question. Okay, well, the ones I checked. Okay, so I still had a couple people who walked around saying the absolute value of 40 is -40. Guys, it's the distance that a number is to 0. You cannot have a negative distance. It doesn't matter whether it's the absolute value of 40 or the absolute value of -40. What is the absolute value of both of those opposite numbers? JVG? 40, period. And then the absolute value of -39 is? Noah? 39.
And then once you get 39, you can go from greater for the 40 because it's going to try eating the 40. So it's pulling. Draw the T. Yeah! Draw the line. Don't forget the fire.
Is this shot approved? Alright, okay. Video. Here's what I would like you guys to do on this one. I would first like you to draw a vertical number line with just these 4 days on it. But what's another temperature that should go on there? Always. 0 degrees. So I need you to put those, listen, I need those 5 temperatures, but you need to label them as day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. You don't have to label 0 though. So do that first, and then go ahead and answer question number 2. But you should always be drawing a vertical number line when temperature is involved, or any type of vertical distance, or how far apart 2 numbers are. Okay? That would be incorrect because, remember, we count going down the same way as we would count going up. So we would have to think -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6 would be going down. So that would be incorrect. So we would just need to put -4, -5, -6. Now, I want everybody to hear me. I want you to stop what you're doing. I want you to listen to me. On the test tomorrow, you guys will not have, you're not going to have, like that thermometer, that vertical number line right there, that is not going to be given to you, okay? The only thing that will be given to you is the table with the temperatures in them. just like on the formative, right? I'm telling you, and I said on the video yesterday, you should all be doing that vertical number line. It helps you to visualize the thermometer a little bit. You need to do it. You will miss it if you do not do it. Trust me. Okay? So, what's the problem? What's the issue with this right here? What am I missing? Or what bothers me as your teacher and somebody that wants to see you all do really, really well? Craig?
Some people don't show their work.
Yeah, that does, certainly.
And then they get it wrong.
Yeah, exactly. But on this specific question, I had people missing it, and I'll, Worm?
They didn't show the work or label.
They didn't label. So I had people saying, oh, well then day 4 is 6 degrees, and day 4 was 12 degrees. See, I don't even know. See how hard that was? I'm trying to look back to this and try to relate this. You need to label what these are.
No.
Come on, man. Okay, this is going to be, and you can just put D4. We know that -4 is D3, day 3. We know that -6 is day 2, and then we know that this is day 1. Now we can actually look at it on our scrap sheet and say, okay, from right here to right here, what would the change in temperature be? Well, as Mr. Zenker taught us, that when we go across 0, what do we do to the absolute values?
We make the negative to a absolute value.
Right, we find the absolute values of both distances and do what with them?
Add them together.
Add them together. You got it. Everybody understand that? What would I do if I wanted to know the distance? What if I said, so the answer was 17, by the way. 17 was the change in temperature, 12 plus 5. But what if I asked you guys a second question that said, what is the change in temperature from day 3 to day 2? Should be day 2 to day 3, but you guys get the point. How would I figure out the change in temperature from day 3 to day 2? So from right here to right here. Who can explain to me what I would do there? Please. Yeah, I would subtract the absolute values. Now that one you could probably just figure out that it's, okay, well it's going up 2 degrees. But just understand, that's what you're staying on the same side of 0. So we're going to subtract the absolute values. All right. Let's keep on rolling. Keep on a rolling. Get these questions from last year. King Cove. I know. We'll come back to that. Here's one. Ready? Go ahead and do this one. So guys, this one here, this is just like the stock one. Remember the stock question that we had on the formative? You'll have one very similar to that again. Okay? Who would lost the, first of all, which one can I eliminate because of that word right there? Who can I eliminate from this list of students? Eric? Camille? Yep, Camille would be gone because she obviously didn't lose anything. She gained money. Okay? So now, who actually lost the most amount of money or the highest amount of money? Caitlin? Lily, absolutely. Okay, let's keep moving. All right. This is a good one right here, guys. I want us all to do this one, and we've got to think about it. We've got to be able to get this one right. Go ahead. Nice job with this, y'all. But guys, we have to put this on a vertical number line, and you have to remember, guys, you have to put them on a vertical number line, and you have to remember to put 0 on there. That's the catch, because a lot of people, if I'd have given you this right here at the beginning of the chapter, there would have been a lot of people would have told me the distance was 2. They would have, because of 12 and 2, there's only 2 apart. But remember, you have to account for all 12 numbers on the negative side, right? The absolute value of negative 12 is the 12 to there. Then there's another 10 you have to go, so that's where we get 22 as our distance. Everybody got that? You will have one just like that on the summative tomorrow. Please draw a vertical number line for that. What else? Here we go. Everybody go ahead, and I want you to do number 1 and number 2. Go ahead. You got 2 minutes to do number 1 and 2. All right. This one here. First of all, the coldest day. Yes, and I saw a lot of vertical number lines. That's really, really great. You guys are listed. That makes me happy. Okay? What is Well, we obviously always got to put 0 on there. What day would be up above 0? Yep. 12, positive, right? Now, I think what's confusing for you guys on this is I think you guys, is 12 degrees pretty cold?
Yeah.
Yeah. All those days are cold, right? I think that's what makes it a little bit challenging. Yeah, but it's not the coldest. That's actually warm compared to these other temperatures. So what would come first after 0? Would -2 or -9 come first? JVG? -2. And of course, notice how I'm labeling my days so that I can actually keep track of these things. And then -9 would be down there at day 1. So when we're talking about the coldest day, I mean, remember I said a vertical number line works perfectly as a thermometer. Now, I know you guys probably aren't used to using a thermometer like this anymore, but you guys have all done them, right? In math class, obviously, and maybe even in science class, I'd imagine, right? Okay. So the coldest day here is obviously going to be day 1. That's the most negative. That's the coldest day there is. Eric, pay attention, please. What is the change in temperature then from day 1 to day 3? So we have day 1 and day 3. Well, now what's the first thing you notice about those 2 days with regards to the vertical number line? The Jorick? They're both on one side of the 0, right? They're negative. So if we stay on the same side of 0, what do we have to do to their? Yes. Subtract their what though? Right. I had people on the formative. Listen, I had people on the formative asking me, how do you do negatives in your calculator? Should you need to do negatives in your calculator? No. Okay? You do not have to know how to do that right now. You just are all about absolute values. You're taking the distance from there to there. You're subtracting the distance from there to there to give you this distance right there. Okay, that would be 9 minus 2, which would be a 7-degree change. Would I accept -7? No, because that's not a distance. Negative, can't be negative. All right, let's keep moving on here. No, you don't. Relax. Okay. Let's. Hey guys, this is one that's been throwing people. Now, you guys on the summative, you will not have to draw one, but you will have to pick or choose the correct one. Now, these are tough. These are hard ones. That's why I kind of saved it for last year, because I want to make sure we got this. Draw a horizontal number line to represent the opposites of whole numbers from 6 to 10. Now, let's say that word opposites right there wasn't in there. Why do I see people on the calculators and doing other things? Please listen, please. If it just said draw a horizontal number line representing whole numbers from 6 to 10, what would be on my number line right now? If it was just whole numbers from 6 to 10. Come on, guys. Everybody should be able to answer this one. I mean, this is something that I could go elementary students would know. Well, pay attention. Ayush? Okay, I'll ask this again. Please be with me. If you took out the word opposites and it just said draw a horizontal number line that represents whole numbers from 6 to 10, what numbers would show up on this number line, Katie?
We put 6.
6,
7,
8,
8,
9,
9,
10.
10.
The reason we have 6, will we put 11 minutes? Okay. The reason we put 6 and 10 on here is because it says from 6 to 10. If I said from everybody from Brooke to Craig, pay attention. If I said everybody from Brooke to Craig, then they would all come to me, right? But if I said everybody between Brooke and Craig, it would just be these 4 individuals, right? See the difference? Going back to chapter 1. Okay, now that's not the correct answer, though, is it? No. We need to do the opposites. Now I'm going to show you what the mistake is that students do when they're having to do this. Does anybody know what the mistake is? Does anybody know what mistake always happens? And I'm hoping it doesn't now that I'm warning you. Go ahead.
They put 6 to 11, not 6 to 10.
No, that usually doesn't happen because it says from 6 to 10. Marin? They just say, yeah, okay, wait, what do you mean? No. No, go ahead. That's not, yes, they could, yeah. Yep.
They put it in the wrong order.
They go up and say, well, that's what it would be from 6 to 10, so I'll just add negatives on there. Is that what your vertical number line would look like? No, because those are negatives. You have to flip them. So you'd have to do -10, -9, -8, -7, -6. Everybody understand that?
Yeah.
Okay. Try this one, guys. Notice it says from greatest to least. This is like what I switched on the summative. So you will have to put these greatest to least. So it will actually look like when you list these out vertically, it'll be the biggest numbers on top going down to the smallest number. Go ahead and list them out. You don't have to put them on a number line unless you want to. You can. I don't care. If that helps you, put them on a vertical number line. Do that now. Get some more problems. Okay, so you obviously, whenever you see those bars, remember you need to go ahead and answer the question. Just like, hey guys, again, just like if I gave you, okay, as I was saying, it would be just like if I gave you guys, like an eighth one here that said, listen, Ayush, if it was an eighth one that said 2 plus 4, wouldn't you guys go ahead and all make that 6?
Yeah.
Well, this is no different. You would go ahead and make that 3. Now you're ready to list them greatest to least as they would appear on a number line. So I look down through there. I see there's a positive 5. That would be first. And you can put them on the number line 2 if you wanted. That would take care of that one. I see another positive 3 right there. You could write it as 3 or the absolute value of -3. Doesn't matter. Okay, now we've taken care of that one. Now we're on to all negatives, but we got to put 0 next. Now we put our negatives on there, which would be -2, -3, -5, -6. And by the way, if you're confused, if you get stuck on the test, and you're like, oh, I can't remember, does it go like this? Or does it go the other way? If you're just confused for a second, look through the rest of the test. See if there's a vertical number line somewhere on the test, and there will be, right? And see how it's numbered on there. Use a coordinate plane. Right, everybody? Okay. I want to go through, I think we've done enough of the, we're gonna do a couple coordinate points here. Now this one's gonna be hard. This is gonna be me just going over a few, allowing you guys to kind of direct me on how to do it. Now I want to remind everybody, and I'll put this on the video real quick here, that if you're on MyLSD, which all of you are, if you go into MyLSD, just keep in mind that in that folder named Science, that Science folder, right, where's that? Is that it right there? There it is right there, Science folder. You can go back into that gizmos that we were doing, because coordinate planes are kind of one of those weird things to practice, unless you have graph paper, and even then, it's hard to check yourself. So if you would go into the gizmo here, and you would just practice, you could actually go over and say, okay, I think that -2,5 would be right there. Now drag a point over here and say, well, let's see if that is indeed -2,5, is it? So use that gizmo to help you review it. Now, if we were reflecting over the x here, where would it go? Would it go down here or would it go over here? It would go down over the x. It actually has to physically go over top of the x. Everybody got that? So we'll do a couple practice here. So first of all, I'm going to plot the point, let's say 6, -3. Who can describe to me how I would plot the point 6, -3? How would I do that? Just give me the explanation. That it?
Do I have to show you where it is?
No, just tell me. Just explain it. Where do we start from?
The origin?
The origin, right there. Do we need to know that word, by the way?
Yes.
Oh, so it'll be on the test?
Yeah.
Oh, I've mentioned that. Okay, good. Okay, so we start at the origin, and then what do we do from there?
Go 6.
We're going to go 6 what? Up, left, down, right, diagonally? What? Uh-oh.
Up.
No. Now I'm going to remind everybody, we're going to do a quick little reminder lesson. This is your x coordinate, that's your y coordinate, right everybody? The first one represents the x. The x-axis is the horizontal one. So I'm going to use the example that you guys have heard me use on the video. Everybody listen, please. When you walk into the hospital, you have to walk in the front doors, correct?
Yes.
Remember, I don't love the Superman runs before he flies, because he can fly, he can go up, but we can also go down, right?
Yeah.
Or the airplane takes off the runway, well, it usually doesn't go down. I hope not anyway, right? Okay? So when with my example, listen up, I'll just do a quick refresher. When you walk into the hospital, and that's where the origin is, don't you have to walk to the elevator first? Don't you? So, or the stairs, same thing. So we're going to walk to the elevator. Well, I can't go up to the elevator. That wouldn't make any sense, would it? I would actually have to go to the elevator. This number right here tells us how to get to the elevator. So that's going to tell us that we need to go 6 steps or 6 feet or 6 units or whatever to the right. Now, what is that spot right there representing, guys? That's where the elevator is. Now, this one is going to tell us what button we're going to push on the elevator. If there were negative, there are basements and stuff, so that it actually does relate. Okay, since it's a negative, are we going to go up or down, guys? Down. We're going to go down to the 3rd floor. So 1, 2, 3 floors down at -3, which would be 6, -3. So remember, the first number tells us how to get to the elevator. The second number tells us what floor we actually need to go to. Got it?
Yep. Got it.
So, who can tell me, what quadrant is this right here?
1,
Quadrant 2.
3, 4.
There's no 5th. Okay? So, guys, hey! Okay, so let's say that I were reflecting that point right there. Listen, I'm going to reflect that over the x-axis. Who can tell me, Eric, stop please. You're wasting time, wasting my markers. Put the lid on. Where is it, what quadrant is it going to go if I'm reflecting, over the x-axis? Which quadrant is it going to go to? George?
Quadrant 1.
It's going to go to quadrant 1. Now, what you guys have to remember, and I showed that some of you this yesterday with Mr. Zenker, this right here is like a, and I drew this on the video, but I'll show it again. Remember how in the video I drew like a guy?
Yeah.
How tall is that guy?
3.
He's 3 units, 3 feet, whatever. Okay, so what will his reflection be then?
3.
It'll be 3 also, so we got to keep them the same height. But really, what I want you guys to see is, did my x coordinate change when I reflect over the x?
No.
No, it did not. It's going to remain 6, right, everybody?
Yes.
What's going to happen to the y?
It's going to change.
It's going to become its opposite. Notice, you with me, man?
Yep.
Is everybody hearing that?
Yeah.
So when you're doing these reflections, guys, you should never be getting brand new numbers. Like, you shouldn't ever, you'll never be able to take 6, -3 and reflect it and become 4, 6. The number's got to be the same. It's either going to be becoming 6 or -6, or it's going to be becoming 3 or -3. Has everybody got that? So when you reflect over the x, you know the x coordinate will remain the exact same. Got it? Now if I were reflecting over the y, what quadrant is it going to go to? This one here. What quadrant is it going to go to if I reflect over the y? Come on, guys. Marina? It's going to go to quadrant 3, and how far away from that y-axis is it? It's 6, so is it going to remain 6 away? It's just going to be -6? So now look at my new coordinate. I just took the opposite of the x coordinate, which is -6, and did the y coordinate change? So my point here, I'm trying to get you guys to see, is if you reflect over the x coordinate will stay the same. If you reflect over the y, Eric, put the lid on the marker. If you reflect over the y coordinate will stay the same, right? Everybody getting that? So if you're trying to reflect any point on here, this point right here is 2, -5. I can reflect this anywhere I want. It's going to stay in some form of 2 and -2 and 5, -5 for the y coordinate. Do we all understand that?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. We didn't get it to any more of those word problems. We ran out of time. So on the video, I will have more of them that I do in later classes. Okay?